Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Welcome everyone to this month's episode, or I guess a new webinar called Embrace the Future, Pastoral Learning and Higher Education. My name is Abdullah Al-Mamoon. I'm the Senior Director of Advancement at Bayan Islamic Graduate School. I want to introduce myself first, and then inshallah I'll go ahead and introduce our distinguished panelists. I've been working in the nonprofit sector for the past 15 years, and this week, it's been my third year working at Bayan. Alhamdulillah, in these past 15 years, I've had the opportunity to travel all across the country and meet so many different types of people. I've met people that are practicing. I've met people that are wanting to practice. I've met people that are facing challenges. And alhamdulillah and mashallah, we have challenges in every community, but also phenomenal strengths. And one of the unique, significant, and beneficial outcomes that I've seen in communities is where they've had phenomenal convert or revert programs, and where they have been able to integrate those new brothers and sisters into the community as one. So today, with the Embrace Scholarship at Bayan Islamic Graduate School, we are trying to make sure that those brothers and sisters who are working in convert care, who are working in revert care, who are helping these new brothers and sisters that are coming into Islam, has the necessary tools and skill set to be able to foster and develop that Islamic identity. So our panelists today is Sister Nahila Morales, who is a chaplaincy student or a Master of Divinity student at Bayan Islamic Graduate School. And then we have Sister Jacqueline, I apologize, help me out with the last name again.
Crutchley.
Crutchley, yes, Sister Jacqueline Crutchley, who's doing her Master's in Islamic Leadership, and Sister Wendy Diaz, who's doing her Master's in Islamic Studies. So I'm going to ask each one of our panelists to introduce themselves, and afterwards, inshallah, we'll go ahead and ask some questions. And once I've asked these questions to everyone, I'm going to ask the audience if you have any questions, and inshallah, we will address those as well. So Sister Nahila, if you could start, and also while you do introduce yourself, if you can please talk about the Embrace organization and how that partnership with Bayan came about.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان الله وبحمده وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. Thank you everybody for joining us this evening. My name is Nahila Morales. I'm one of the co-founders of Embrace. Embrace is a nonprofit organization that was founded by 3 other brothers and myself back in 2017. And we are fostering and we are trying to take care of the new Muslims, the converts, first-generation Muslims, reverts, however you want to title us, throughout the U.S. As of right now, we have a total of 10 chapters, and we are from the west to the northeast and everything in between. The way Embrace came about with Bayan, it was something that it was needed because, as we know, many of our new Muslims unfortunately get lost along the way. And so Embrace and Bayan came together to make sure that we take care of that necessity and those challenges. And what better way than through education? We understand that knowledge is something that is instructed upon each and every one of us, each and every believer. And therefore, it's very important within the Embrace model and obviously Bayan. So a few years ago, one of our brothers that is very invested in Embrace decided to come up with the Embrace Scholarship. And there was a couple of I guess qualms about it. He made sure that he wanted me to be the first recipient, and that's how that relationship began. And so again, this took off back during quarantine, during the pandemic. And ever since then, now we have a total of 3 recipients of the Embrace Scholarship.
And if you want to just do a quick introduction of yourself, where are you? What are you studying? And where are you right now?
Sure. So right now I am in New Jersey. We are very cold here. Not as cold as Chicago, but pretty cold. Right now I'm really focusing on my studies. So I've become very invested in trying to finish this uh, this master's program. My goal as a chaplain is, and we'll talk about it more in a bit, but my goal is really to become a prison chaplain. So while I was living in Texas just a few months ago in Dallas, for the past 6 years, I was involved in the Outreach Women Prison Dawa initiative by my local masjid. And so that's really where that niche began. And I just see so much potential in these women. And it just grew from there. I really want to take it to federal prison once I graduate from Bayan, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you. Next, I want to ask Jacqueline to introduce herself, please. Sister Jackie.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sister Jacqueline Crutchley, or Jackie is fine, easier. By day, I work and do grants management for cancer research. And then by evenings and weekends, I help out with Embrace. And that story came about in a very beautiful way. I when I first converted, I kind of understood the problems within the community. My background is in sociology and anthropology. As I could see that Islam was perfect, I understood very quickly that people are not, and there's a lot of misinformation. And certain people will tell you some things, and certain people will tell you other things. So, as a baby, brand new Muslim, I kind of removed myself and tried to find information authentically to build that foundation of my faith before I entered and brought other people into that journey with me. But I found myself extremely lonely after a while. And I saw that there was an ICNA convention near me in a couple of weeks and signed up and went down. And at one of those conventions, I stalked Sister Nahila because she started talking about Embrace. And this was before Embrace had expanded, mashallah. And I was like, oh, this needs to be in my community. I need this here. And at that time, they weren't quite ready. But I was really excited. And I just made space in my life. So I had other commitments that I was volunteering for. I was working with an organization for empowering women. And it wasn't fulfilling that part of me anymore. My heart kind of was distant. And so I just made space. And as I was removing myself and finding new leadership to take my place, I made dua that Allah would fill that for me. And I got an email from Embrace that they're ready to expand to a third chapter. In that chapter, they'd like it to be in Pennsylvania. And the more and more I worked with them and with Nahila, I kept getting put into these leadership positions. And I really felt the weight of that. I felt the weight of having to answer questions to my fellow reverts and help usher them and lead them through their journeys, knowing that, everything that I said, I would have to answer for, and wanting to make sure that I was giving them the best possible effort that I could do. And so when this scholarship came up, that's where the appeal came. And I remember in one of my classes, I had to go to a synagogue, and the woman there, when I explained why I'm getting a master's degree, she was shocked. She's like, "So you're getting a master's degree for a volunteer position?" And I said, "I guess you can look at it like that." And so I signed up for the master's in leadership program. Originally, as I was trying to find out my place in this community, it didn't feel like there was a lot of spaces for women in leadership, but I was very blessed to have people like Nahila ushering me through. And so I'm very grateful for those spaces, and I'm grateful to be able to do this with Bayan, to inshallah usher more, women into these positions, and to help, our community and build those foundations, in a more communal way, in a less lonely way, for our new Muslims. As we know, from studies that which there need to be more, 7 out of 10 people who enter Islam end up leaving it. And so it's very important for us to do everything that we can to encourage people in their faith. And so I'm located in Pennsylvania, by the way, so I'm not too far from Nahila. But I'm a Jersey girl at heart. That's where I was born and bred. And I think I got all the points.
Thank you. Mashallah, we have people that have been signing on from all across the country. I'm located here in Dallas, Texas. And as Jackie and Nahela mentioned, they're in the Northeast. So I asked Wendy to introduce herself, and then inshallah, I'll start asking some questions.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Wendy Diaz, and I am in Baltimore, Maryland. And I kind of married into the New Jersey family. My husband is from New Jersey, so happy to be here joining my Jersey girls. As far as how did I get introduced to Embrace, I converted to Islam back in 2000, and ever since that point, I was very much involved in Dawah work, pretty much everywhere I went. And eventually, about 2005, I started volunteering with Why Islam in New Jersey, living in New Jersey. And I did not cross paths with Nahela until I moved to Maryland. And then we kind of got in touch with each other through social media. But as it were, we both were very involved in the same masjid in North Jersey, in the same Dawah committee. And so we hit it off, and we've been working together ever since. When she was working with Why Islam previously, I started working with her there. And so I've been involved in ICNA in some way, shape, or form. And I'm currently the Spanish content coordinator for Why Islam. So anything that is in the Spanish language, it comes through me. I'm a former Spanish teacher. And like I said, I was born in Puerto Rico. So one of the things that for me that is important is increasing Latino representation in Islamic literature and Islamic media in Muslim spaces. I think it's very important because our community, our Latino Muslim community, has been around for a very long time, but for some reason, everyone always thinks it's something new, like it's up and coming, but actually we've been around for a very long time. As far as the Embrace Scholarship, again, Nahela and I were talking about this. I had studied Islam in various different institutions, never quite going into a formal program like Bayan. Nahela encouraged me to apply for the scholarship and for Bayan. And the way that I approached it was I wanted to just take things step by step. And I applied, but I didn't think that I was going to make it in, and alhamdulillah, I got the opportunity. And so I chose the Islamic studies track because I'm a writer, and it's something that can help me in what I'm doing and in my mission to be that voice for the Latino community.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you for joining us tonight. And inshallah, as I mentioned in the beginning, the audience members, you all have an opportunity to ask questions. We're just going to ask those questions towards the end of the program. So I wanted to ask each one of you questions independently and then individually, and then inshallah I'll ask some collective questions. I want to start with Nahela. I understand that you're interested in serving as a prison chaplain. What motivates you to pursue that option? What is your advice to anyone who is interested in pursuing a chaplaincy degree from Bayan?
So this is a very personal story, which many of you can actually look back and perhaps you've heard it. But as a new Muslim and in my role with Why Islam and all the dawah work that I was doing, I was traveling a lot. During that time, I was always asked to be to step aside and to be checked even more, right? The famous 4 S's. And my son is now going to be 19. At the time, my son was about 4 or 5 years old. And I remember one time specifically, and I had already learned about a specific person, which many of you probably have heard, Dr. Afia Siddiqui, who's actually in prison in Texas. And I always thought that can be me, that I can be the next Afia, right? So years progressed and I got to work on her case with her then lawyer, a friend of mine. And I got really involved in that, aside from working in the outreach program with women in Dallas through my mosque, through my masjid. I just see a lot of potential. Every visit I carried on. I came out so empowered. I came out so uplifted. There's just so many women in there that just need a little push. The other thing that is very personal, I actually come out of the foster care system. So when I look at statistics, I am one of those statistics. I could have been in prison. That's what the pipeline says, right? From the statistics that we see. And so it just gives me even more motivation to help some of these women who have not had any guidance of any kind. And so what better way than to bring a word of God in because when we go into these situations or in these spaces, we identify ourselves as Islamic services. So they really come to learn about Islam. And so, as we all know, Islam is the answer for absolutely everything. And I just feel like these are unforgotten voices and unforgotten people that we don't really think about. And I just feel that my calling is there.
I applaud you, and may Allah continue to bless you for that effort. It's sad to see that we don't have enough representation in the prison system from Muslim chaplains, especially here in Texas, which has a huge Muslim population. And you were here for a while, and we've missed you definitely, and we need more people to come forward. So again, I thank you for your service in this. And one of the objectives of today's webinar is to encourage others to get engaged, especially in chaplaincy and this sort of work that we all are trying to promote, inshallah. I wanted to touch base back to what Jackie had said, that for every 10 people that accept Islam, 7 leave. That's a very scary statistic, and it's something that we really don't hear about enough, but it is something that is true. So I want to ask you, Jackie, can you share some specific examples of how your studies have influenced your approach to teaching new Muslims, and how you see your role in fostering supportive learning environments for these new Muslims through Bayan's education, or the education that you are learning getting right now?
Yeah, my education with Bayan has transformed the way that I interact with, our Embrace members in some ways. And when I first started volunteering, a lot of it was just me kind of learning and accepting everything as, some sort of unadulterated truth, because I, knew those who were teaching me, because I trusted all the information that was being given to me. And now as I go in to teach students, I try to explain to them, I'm here to give you that foundation for your faith and to give you the tools to seek knowledge yourself. I'm not here to just reiterate things or say that there's no differences of opinion on certain matters, because I want everyone that I come into contact with to develop their mind, to develop their critical thinking, and to have those tools to find truth, because that's what we do. We found truth. You've done it already once, and now that you're here in the club, it can get confusing. And the key to all of this is just with Embrace, alhamdulillah, is to establish that firm foundation, so when you get confused, you have something to go back to, and also to give you that community. Because one of the main reasons why people do leave Islam is this lack and sense of community, and sometimes poor interactions that make you feel more isolated than you already are. And so Embrace not only provides some educational opportunities, which I'm blessed with my studies, they've let me cut back on teaching, but I still teach because it's one of my favorite things to do. But we also provide, social opportunities with our community. And this year we did a camping trip, which was beautiful, mashallah. The 3 chapters in the Northeast, New York, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut all got together and we did a camping trip. And to hear, it wasn't completely surrounding. We didn't have halakas all day. It wasn't just a interaction for, just Islamic learning. It's to really get to know each other, to build that sisterhood and that brotherhood, to share experiences, to just be people. We're not just converts, we're just people. And there were people who were not converts there. And it was a very beautiful experience for a lot of people. And some people said it was the best, weekend of their entire year. And that really made like my heart flutter, and it made it worth it to me, because it's easy to look at, converts as a number, to see, this is how many we're getting, or this is how many are leaving. But behind each person is a story, and behind each person is someone who wants to connect and to feel like they're a part of something. And that in itself can be a huge test of faith. So, I think that my education has allowed me to be a better teacher. I've revised, lessons, and used some of the things that I've learned in that respect. But it also, the more that I learn, the more I realize the importance of that human connection. Because before Bayan, like Wendy and Nahila, I had just been taking classes here and there, and they were beautiful and wonderful. But I had never had such one-on-one, not one-on-one, but like one-on-one in a classroom with a teacher who was really portraying what they were trying to teach with that type of character. There had been situations that were great and beautiful, but short-lived, or even situations where I felt like I was being taken advantage of in my newness. But feeling that for myself makes me better want to replicate that, feeling with others, and looking at people as who they are, and not just students, or not just numbers and people you're trying to shove knowledge into, because it was so meaningful for me for the first time to feel like an individual in a classroom learning about Islam.
I appreciate that experience that you just shared. It just reminded me of my youth days when I used to be a youth director, and in our community, we had Muslims and non-Muslims come. I was in charge of the young boys in our community, and we actually initiated that exact concept, which was, how do we feel? How can we connect with one another in terms of our hearts. How can we spiritually connect? Because once you have that connection, it lasts beyond the communal aspects of it. It lasts beyond what you have around you, but because you've connected with a mission and vision in life, it lasts for a lifetime, inshallah. So it just reminded me of that, and community is extremely important. So I moved from New York to Dallas, and one of the things that my parents, my family have always asked about is how is the community in Dallas when I moved down here almost a decade ago. And for me, it took some time to build that community. And while I was building that community for myself and for my family, I actually met a lot of Wendy's relatives. So when I joined Bayan, and they've said, there's someone that you need to really reach out to introduce Bayan to. And when I also, Wendy's name came up, and when I asked Sister Nahela about it, your name came up. So you've been mentioned a lot because of the work that you've been doing, especially the literatures that you've been producing. MashaAllah, may Allah bless you and preserve you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make that a source of barakah for our communities. Could you share some upcoming projects or initiatives where you intend to showcase the intersection of Islamic studies and Latino culture, especially in the realm of literature and media? Because that is what you mentioned, that's not shared enough. For me, I've witnessed Muslim Latino families that have been in Brooklyn and in the Bronx and in New York for decades, but again, it was never identified as such. So I'm really interested to hear what projects you may have coming up.
So I currently, I'm a contributing writer for various Islamic publications. One of them is Islamic Horizons magazine. One of them is Message International. And I write regularly for Sound Vision. And through Sound Vision, I actually share a lot of parenting advice and education advice for their parenting newsletter that comes out weekly. And I've found that there have been topics that have come up for that newsletter that have tied back directly to some of the classes and some of the things that I've been learning through Bayan. And so I'm able to incorporate a lot of what I've learned into my writing. And of course, I always have ideas, things that I'm working on, especially when it comes to children's books. That's my biggest passion. So I have a lot of things that are in the works, inshallah, and also some nonfiction work related to the studies at Bayan. One of my biggest interests is the history of Islam, and we're just talking about our history of Islam course that we're actually all in together right now, and just talking a little bit more about what has been the contributions to our culture here in the Americas, and trying to get more information out there, because I feel that it's one of those things that we have ignored for far too long. The impact that Islam has had outside of what we already know of Europe and Africa and Asia. Outside of that, what impact has Islam had on the cultures here in the Americas and in Latin America specifically? Oh, did I lose someone? Okay. So yeah, we definitely, things are underway, inshallah, and I hope with Allah's blessing that I'm able to continue doing more.
Inshallah, we are here to support you. I think we're very excited to see what products and materials and content you produce, inshallah. And I'm happy that what you're learning at Bayan is transferring over to your work. I want to ask this question to the panel, but before I go there, I do want to put this into context. Mashallah, we have students who happen to be imams, Islamic school principals, teachers, youth directors, executive directors of nonprofits, people that are working as chaplains or want to be a certified chaplain. So people are all working full time, and they're doing phenomenal work. Bayan is a professional finishing school, takes you to that next level. One of our friends for Nahel and I, Imam Abdul Jami, who is perhaps a classmate for many of you here, he was telling me his experience. He's like, what did you get me into? Right? Like, he's like, man, these classes are tough, but he's really enjoying it. So the question to you all I want to ask is, graduate school can be very taxing, yet very rewarding. What would you say has been your most humbling experience so far? Whoever wants to start, please.
I'm unmuted and I just laughed, so I'll do it. Most humbling experience. So part of my program as an MA in Islamic Studies student is taking intermediate Arabic. So I've taken Arabic before. I lived in Egypt for a year, but it's been a long time since I studied Arabic. And just a little about me, by the way. I have 6 children, and I'm a very, very busy mom. So imagine, me trying to open up books and take Arabic again. It was just definitely humbling, to say the least. I think that out of all the classes that I've taken through Bayan, the Arabic class has been the most humbling. But of course, the beautiful thing about all of the courses that we've taken is that the more you learn, the more you realize that you really don't know much. And even at this level, at a graduate level, it's really, I mean, we are only touching the surface of the amount of vast knowledge that exists. And looking back, I've been Muslim now. This is my 24th year as a Muslim. I've been Muslim now more than I was non-Muslim. So looking back and seeing the progression of how little knowledge you have when you first accept Islam. Of course, it took me 4 years to embrace Islam. I studied Islam from the time that I was 16 years old all the way to I was 20. And that's when I took my Shahada, and I just gave away probably my age, but that's okay. Backtrack. But seeing how little you know, and then you think, you get into a point where you become almost even overzealous when you're a new Muslim, and you think that, you kind of know a lot, but then as time goes on, you start to kind of plateau and say, wait, okay, let's back up a little bit. Let's start from the beginning. And so getting to this level of graduate studies, it's really eye-opening, it's enlightening, it's humbling. And words cannot describe just what a great experience. And I think Bayan, mashallah, is such a great school, a hidden gem. So I can't recommend it enough to others that are looking into a graduate program, because I don't think there is a lot of programs like this in existence that is actually Muslim operated, that all the professors are, for the most part, Muslim professors. So yeah, again, Arabic. And I tell people, my advice to anyone that is a new Muslim who wants to study, start with Arabic. Definitely get that Arabic down packed, and then Quran, of course.
As a non-Arab, I also have problems with Arabic, so just you're not alone. So I'm guessing for Jackie and Nahela, everything's been easy, right? No problems whatsoever.
Not at all. I mean, yeah, I'm laughing, I'm chuckling here because everything that that Wendy just said, it's like a ripple. Yes, 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 everything is yes. I think the most humbling experience for me is exactly that, what Wendy said, that we know very little. I mean, we've taken extensive courses here and there and traveled overseas and what have you, but to be in a classroom during an intensive week, really it's life-changing and transforming when it comes to interaction. I'm much older than these two, so for me, coming back after 22 years of graduating, I'm used to being in front of a teacher with students and a board. So this whole online thing took me on a curve. I remember my first semester, I was telling Basma that I was crying in a corner. I don't know if I can do this. Is it difficult? Yes, it is difficult. It's obviously an investment. You have to really take it serious. Is it going to take time? Absolutely. I mean, I don't know, like, I don't know how Wendy does it with 6 kids. And I don't know how I did it back in Dallas either. But now I'm in a whole different stage of my life that is allowing me to really enjoy and learn on a whole different level. As far as humbling experience, I think it was last semester with Dr. Oseguera's class, which is self-care, self-development class. We really unpacked a lot of trauma, a lot of childhood trauma. As chaplains, we have to know when we're able to take and not take, and when we're able to step away. And as a visible Muslim woman, I'm going to get a lot of rejection as a chaplain, and I have to make sure that I'm okay under that skin of mine, because I'm there to service everyone, but not everyone's going to want my service just looking at my hijab, and that's just the honest truth. And so to understand that from the cord was very important for me, because none of us like rejection, and we can't take things personally. So that class really changed me, so much so that I went to, again, coming from a foster home place, I know very little of my family. So her class took me to take my ancestry test, where I found out that I'm 72% indigenous, American, from Mexico. And so the Bayan classes spiral into wanting to know yourself more, into really loving who you are and who you're becoming. I would say that in general, I really believe and strongly believe that that class should be taken by everyone, like every imam, every leader. It really unpacks things that you thought you had gotten over with. But that was the most humbling to actually cry in that class. And it wasn't only myself crying. You saw imams, you saw other women just unpacking a lot of stuff that you thought you were done. You know, so that was very humbling to be in person with other people and show our vulnerability. I think as individuals, oftentimes we try to hide and suppress that, but it's important for us collectively to be able to do that in order for growth to happen.
MashaAllah, it's a prophetic tradition, even prophetic practice to let our emotions sometimes dictate or allow us to the pain that we have, or the pain that we've dealt with, that our emotions come out, because that is a rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're learning about it more and more through what's happening around us, especially in these days, especially in these days. So Jackie, I wanted to ask you the last question that I've asked everyone here. What has been your most humbling experience at Bayan so far?
Yeah, Arabic's definitely humbling. I feel that with Wendy. I had a tutor and I would spend like hours on the weekend, and the tutor would get some of the things wrong, so that made me feel validated. And I had a classmate tell me she did her PhD and the work that we were doing was way more than her PhD, so that was validating. Because when I started Bayan, it was coming at a really difficult time. I had just gone through a divorce, and I was working full time, and I didn't know how I was going to make grad school and full time work for me. And so the first semester was really, I was kind of hesitant as to like, is this worth it? Am I, this isn't even something that's going to help me in my career. I need my career. I'm providing for myself. Is this going to be worth it for me, in hitting those goals? And, I'm putting in a lot of time, and that's all we have. So I did go into Bayan a little bit, skeptic, worried that I just committed myself to 2 to 3 years of something that maybe wasn't going to be as beneficial. But last semester at our hybrid week, I can tell you at the end of both of those classes, I bawled. And it wasn't just me. There were, other people, alhamdulillah. I wasn't by myself, but I was bawling because the things that you're learning, it's just like overwhelming. It's overwhelming because it's not just academic, because it's very academic, and I appreciate that. Even though that was humbling on its own, getting used to an academic setting after 10 years of being out of that. The courses are extremely academic, but they're also kind of like feeding your soul. And so the information that you're getting is just, it's a wholesome information, and it can get really overwhelming. And so, at that point, it's just like, okay, I'm sold. Like, this is gonna be something that is 100% worth it for the rest of my life, whether I use it for a career or not, because this information is not only feeding my mind, but it's feeding my heart and it's feeding my soul. And so that was just like a very humbling moment, as someone who kind of maybe goes into the things just like tiptoeing into it, ready to take, 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I definitely took a full, dive into Bayan last hybrid week.
I really appreciate your statement in the sense that you said the courses are academic. One of the points that we like to mention whenever we present Bayan is that we are an academic institution, with the understanding that you will bring your tradition and understanding of the deen into your studies. So I want to take that to the next question that I have for everyone here. How doable is the coursework at Bayan for working professionals and busy parents? So if you can, because mashallah, you all are busy with jobs and family, and doing, additional work that's out there. So if you could please speak to that for anyone that is interested.
I'll go ahead. So I was hesitant with starting this program, and I had a long talk with Nahela about it, and she said, just try it, just go ahead and apply. And I told her, I'm going to do it, inshallah, but if I get in, I'm going to take things one class at a time or one step at a time. And my intention going in is not going to be, I want to get a degree. It's going to be, I want to increase my knowledge and I want to increase my iman. And so that's the way that I came into it. I started taking the classes because I said, I want to better myself. That's what I want to get out of it. And so that's helped me to not hyper focus on, oh no, I have to finish this, I have to do this because I'm going to get a piece of paper at the end. It's more like, let me try to get as much out of this class as I possibly can. And so that's the way that I'm going. As far as how to do it when you're busy, it seems like it's going to be a lot, but somehow things are made easy. Yes, I have 6 children. Yes, from toddler to teenager. I have one of them in college and one of them that stays at home with me. The other ones go to school. So there's the picking up and dropping off and all of those things. So in between all of that, I take my time to read. I take my time to complete my assignments. You have to be organized, of course. And I'm not the most organized person, I have to admit. But being at Bayan has helped me get organized, making sure that I have the time that I need to get things done. When I first started, my son was my youngest was 1. He was 1, and now he's 3. So it's doable. You just have to take that step and just, just go into it, and you'll see how time just goes by really quickly. And before you know it, you've already, completed X amount of courses, and you're like, wow. And sometimes you don't even want the courses to end, as crazy as it sounds. You will get stressed, you will cry. I did cry. Yes, I still do sometimes, because you get overwhelmed. But at the end of the day, you look back and you say, oh no, is it over already? No, I want more. So it's a beautiful ride, and I'm enjoying it.
MashaAllah. Nahela, I've used your busyness. MashaAllah, you've been all over the country, all over the world, and still you're here as an example to people to enroll at Bayan. So I want to ask you, please let us know how you're doing it as well, because each one of you have a different set of responsibilities and a different concept or issue or blessing that you're dealing with that oftentimes takes you away from your studies, yet you're managing it. So I wanted to see if you could share your aspect of it.
Yeah, as Wendy was speaking, I remember I was invited to speak in Dubai, and I said, I have 15 hours. I have 15 hours to do my final paper. I got this. Well, I had 5 babies crying throughout the whole plane ride. And I remember you find time. I remember not sleeping one night, and I remember I was on WhatsApp with Sadia, another student, and we were just back and forth, and I stood up all night in Dubai while it was day here, just making sure to get the final paper done. I am a little procrastinator, I must admit, but that the adrenaline of when it's due, it's what really motivates me to get it even done. Is it difficult? Like I said before, it is, but it is very rewarding. It is extremely rewarding when it comes to the knowledge that you're obtaining. Like just this winter term, like we were studying about a history of Islam, just to know of our ancestors in the Andalus period, Cordoba, and just to link in with everything, it just starts to make sense. Like the pieces of the puzzle start connecting. And just like Wendy said, like we had an intensive week, and I was like, oh my God, it's Thursday already. Like, I want to learn more. I want to know more. How did Islam begin? And what have you. So it is hard. It is difficult. You do have to be organized, like Wendy said. Absolutely. You have to find time. You have to put that investment. It is an investment, a lifetime investment that will carry on not only now, but for years to come. And, we have a responsibility to also give this knowledge to others. So even in conversation, I'm able to have lengthier, more fruitful conversations with individuals that perhaps have never heard of the Mongols, or have never heard of I'm going to Turkey, and I'm just so excited because now I can link Islamic history, and I can't wait to see like everything that I learned in class. And I was telling my husband, now I'm traveling, I want to travel to all the places where Islam was, or where it began, or where there's a history of Islam. I don't just want to travel. Like it has to be connected to my deen. And I think that's a way of nourishing one's spirit, but also putting to practice all of that knowledge that we learned. So is it doable? Absolutely. Organization is very imperative for anyone. And just know that you're also getting rewarded for acquiring knowledge. So taking that serious step is also beneficial and important.
Jackie, how is your experience in handling this challenge?
It's not easy, but as one of my dearest friend says, nothing worth having comes easy. I'm very blessed. I have a very understanding team, and vacation days for those hybrid weeks. So so for like the J term, which I needed to take, the classes were from 12 to 4 every day, and I was blessed to have, you know, directors that I could, you know, say I'm going to be in school at this time, but I'm going to make up those hours later, and everything will get done. So that's helpful. And I haven't seen my friends probably in since I started my social life has gone down, so there's some sacrifices that had to be made. But it's doable. I set aside during those semesters, you know, my weekends. I try not to plan a lot. And that's also for me to take, you know, self-care, because when you have a full-time job and you're in school full-time, you're gonna need to sleep. I'm not a person who can do all-nighters either. So if you're like me and you value your sleep, it's doable. It's difficult, but it's doable. And you have a very supportive professors. They understand that you are, you know, some of us are mothers or have full-time jobs or have, you know, life happens, family emergencies, sicknesses. So they are accommodating to that. But it's definitely, like you said, it's a full academic course for load. One of the things that was made me want to go to Bayan was that the program is fully, you know, academically accredited. So I'm getting a master's at the end of it. And so I would expect no less. But it's definitely a challenge.
MashaAllah, your experiences reminds me of my time when I'm not at Bayan as a student, but I did get my master's degree, and our eldest son was born at that time, working full time. Starting a master's degree was probably not the wisest idea, but I didn't know what sleep was for a while, so I can I empathize with you all, and may Allah bless you and protect you and reward you for your effort, because you're absolutely right. What you're learning is also an act of ibadah, and the work that we do in terms of our development work at Bayan, the organization, we ask people to support our scholarships, to support our work, so that we can present Islam in a much more favorable and pleasant way to not just the outside community, but even our current and future generations, inshallah. So before I go to the audience to ask questions, I have one last question that I wanted to ask, because all of you mentioned that you've studied in one capacity or another at other institutions. So what is the level of scholarship like in comparison to other educational institutions you have attended or heard of? What sets Bayan apart from the rest of the programs out there? If you can all, if one of you want to take that, and we'll ask from one after another, inshallah. Who wants to go first?
I would say the professors that Bayan attracts are incredible. Definitely top notch. And they're challenging, you know. Definitely relearned a lot of ways to write academically with these professors. I felt really challenged, and I felt encouraged with their notes to improve. So I would say that's one of Bayan's biggest assets is that you guys do have like top-notch professors from all over the world coming in and teaching these classes, and they're experts within their field. And then the other is our classmates are academically challenging. I've gotten to know some of my classmates, so I know you know, which ones are going to ask a lot of questions or have a lot of commentary about certain, you know, subjects. I've pulled on my classmates, like Wendy, for other projects that I know that they're experts in. And so, and I want to read some of what my classmates are interested in. So sometimes I'll hear like, oh, I'm writing a paper on this, and I'm like, oh, I really want to read that. So you have a full-on like academic community fostering there that's you know, top notch.
I want to just piggyback off of that.
Please.
So Bayan is it's accredited, and it is in partnership with the Chicago Theological Seminary. So this is a legit graduate school. What sets it apart from the rest is that. And I've gone to other institutions of learning that specialize in Islamic studies, and some of them, they're not consistent. You take a, you know, hodgepodge of courses, and they're really not tied together in any kind of way. Some institutions, unfortunately, will promise maybe a degree after X amount of classes, but then they don't even last to that point. Or to get there is, you know, it would take you 10 years or something like that. So it's just not feasible. It's not realistic. But this being an actual academic institution of higher learning, then it's on a class of its own. And like Jackie said, our classmates, I mean, you're talking about if you want to go study where the imams study, you go to Bayan. And I was actually surprised that a lot of my classmates are already in these positions of leadership. And so you don't just learn from your professors, you're also learning from your classmates. You're engaging with them in discussion. You're reading some of their writings, you're responding to their writings. So you're really getting yourself to a new level of knowledge, of scholarship, along with these wonderful people. So definitely it is very different, and it is rigorous. It's not easy. It's not just a class that you can go and take at the local masjid or at the community college. This is a graduate school in every sense of that word, of those words.
And if I may add, I think what sets it apart as well is that it has a full staff, right, that you can rely on, a reliable staff. Like we can email Cesar and we can email Basma, we can email anyone. So having that full staff also makes a huge difference, because it shows the organization is organized and really cares about us. You know, the teachers are also very diverse, and I really enjoy that. Different madhabs, you name it. So that's also important, and I never seen that before. So I think that's also what sets it apart.
I really appreciate all of you answering my questions that we've asked. Before I ask anyone, if anyone has any questions, or if you want to formulate your questions and write it in the chat box, and we'll go ahead and answer that. I wanted to do a quick reminder to everyone. Bayan Islamic Graduate School is an institution that provides graduate studies programs. We have right now a Master's of Divinity in Islamic Chaplaincy. We have Master of Arts with 4 concentration in Islamic Leadership, Islamic Education, Islamic Studies, and Islamic Theology. And alhamdulillah, last year, we launched the first ever accredited Doctor of Ministry in Islamic Leadership. So these efforts have been happening since 2011, and we've been growing year over year. And the reason the success has happened is because of our students, because of our professors that are coming into the institution and adding to the discourse or the conversation that is needed so that we can study Islam on an academic level and figure out how to apply that in our communal our communities across the country. So if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and ask right away. Otherwise, what I would like to do is I wanted to see if the panelists have any questions for each other. I'm going to put you guys on the spot. I can ask questions as well, but I wanted to see if either of you have a question for each other, and inshallah, afterwards, then we will conclude this webinar.
I just want to thank both of the other two panelists for jumping on board on this Embrace Scholarship as one of the Embrace co-founders. It is very rewarding to see women specifically. We want brothers to come on too, but right now to start the three scholarships right now are women, and it's so empowering, so important that we're here. And I just want to thank them because they're doing an amazing job.
Yeah, I too want to thank all of you for being part of this, because it means a lot to the communities that have not been born yet, that has not come into fruition yet. You all are laying that foundation for generations to come, and alhamdulillah, we feel so blessed to be able to put these foundations in place, so that because if you look at Harvard, Yale, or any of the Ivy League schools, they started several hundred years ago. Today, they are ginormous. Today, they have all these accolades across the world. But when they first started, they started as a seminary. Once they first started, they started as a small institution, the way Bayan has started. And inshallah, our goal is to be in a situation where Bayan offers Muslim medical school, offers Muslim law school, Muslim engineering school. So we want to be in a situation where we are offering these higher education opportunities to Muslims from all walks of life. So before I end, I wanted to thank Yasmin Lian for organizing the webinar. She did a wonderful job. She promoted, she put everything together. So thank you, Yasmin. I wanted to thank my panelists, Wendy, Jack, and Nahela, for joining us tonight. And I wanted to thank all of you for being here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to continue to learn and be impactful in our communities. If you have any questions, if you want to follow up with any of the panelists, please reach out to us at bayanonline.org, and there's contact information that's there. Also, if you want to support the Embrace Scholarship, we definitely need your support, which is bayanonline.org/embrace. Please continue to support it. It is zakat eligible. We do accept any forms of donation. So please continue to show your support in whatever capacity. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.